Welcome to Decisions, the podcast where boundaries are pushed and conversations get candid. Join your favorite hosts, me, Weezy WTF,
and me, Mandy B,
as we dive deep into the world of non-traditional relationships and explore the often taboo topics surrounding dating, sex, and love.
Every Monday and Wednesday, we both invite you to unlearn the outdated narratives dictated by traditional patriarchal norms. Tune in and join in the conversation.
Listen to Decisions on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Still the Place with Laura Layton,
Courtney Thorne-Smith,
and Daphne Zuniga, an iHeartRadio podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the Melrose Minute, a new weekly audio snack for listeners of the Still the Place podcast. We recapped an episode of Melrose Place, the Christmas episode, and a bunch of different storylines happened there. One of them was Joe and Jake were heating up and picking out the Christmas tree, and they were getting closer and hotter. And then we also had Billy gives a 24-karat necklace to Allison. We'll share our thoughts on that. So let's jump into Billy gives Allison a 24-karat necklace for Christmas, and Joe thinks that's a little much. What do you guys think? What does our audience think, and what do you guys think? They're roommates, but he's obviously starting to feel something for Allison. This whole setup is that they've lived together, they're roommates, they've been just friends, but things are starting to happen. You know, he's taking care of her through the breakup of William Moses and then taking care of her at the hospital and her uterus situation. But he took
you
good
said
care
it,
of her.
we didn't.
You guys loved it on the recap, though. Boy.
We're just trying to bug you, Daph.
Yeah. So we're just talking about like that point where you're starting to feel more. I mean, if it's clearly just friends, it's a bit much, in my opinion. 24 karat, a beautiful piece of jewelry like that, a necklace for a roommate. But if you're in his position and you're feeling more and they're getting a little more intimate.
I think it's clear. It's definitely like a gift for somebody special. It's not just a friend gift or a roommate gift. And I think we've all, you know, gift giving is like, you have to really think, well, wait a minute, what does this gift say? Like, is this the right tone? Is this the right thing? Does this just like hit the right mark? And I think definitely a 24 karat necklace for a roommate is a gift that says, oh, I think you're special. And I really, this is me saying, I love you. You know, like I definitely think it speaks volumes.
Jewelry is very intimate, right?
Yeah.
It's very romantic, very intimate. 24 carats, which I've never owned anything 24 carats. Like 14, I have 10 carat things. 14 is pretty fancy. 24 carats pretty intense.
And Billy drives a cab.
And he doesn't have money. Where did he get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in this day and age, gold is so expensive now. Can you imagine with that? I'm not going to do my little magic math where I figure it out. Let's just say it would cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Allison in the show sort of registers, this is so, she goes, thanks, great, and puts it on and carries on with her day, right? It deserved a conversation that they didn't have.
It was a big deal. And like Joe's take on it was not crazy. Like, she's like, yeah, this says something more. Like, you got to figure your stuff out, either admit to what you're feeling or.
Yeah, I feel like because Joe has come from, he's a little further down the line. She's a little further down the line in like a serious relationship. Maybe she's gotten jewelry and there's sort of like, there's politics and negotiations in this kind of thing in her world that she came from. And so for him, it's so naive. It's like the first time, this was nice. It's a very sort of innocent, naive place to give it a jewelry from. Where she, I'm sure with the world that she was in, it means very specific things and expectations are probably go along with it. That's just my view on her kind of.
Yeah. And I also think that Joe is seeing something that Allison and Billy aren't quite seeing yet. Like it's so, this is where the audience is like, kiss her for, everyone else can see it. I think he's really not aware because there's a line which I loved when he said, it's a token of friendship. And then Joe says, and that's exactly what you'll get.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can see it. You're like, don't you know? But it's one of those situations where everybody can see it except for Billy and Allison at this point.
But Court, that's kind of stumped me. This was it. She was saying like 24 karat, because she says, is it 18 or 24, right? And so he says 24. That's the most expensive version of a necklace he can get. So then why does she say, you gave her the 24 karat necklace, that's exactly what you'll get. Just friendship. I didn't get that. Did you?
Because he says it's a token of friendship, and you said, and that's what you'll get.
And I think she was also trying to point out that if you give this necklace, it indicates something greater than just friendship. But if you say to me, oh, it's just friendship, then I'm going to hold you to that. Like, you don't get to not tell the truth about what it is you want out of this relationship. And like I mean, that's sort of how I see it. It's like, because the gift, she was sort of calling it out, like, this gift says a lot more than friendship.
Yeah.
So when he says, hey, it's a token of friendship, she's like, all right, well then that's, you know what I mean? Like, it was almost like she was just calling his bluff on it. Like,
yeah, that it's not about the necklace. It's about his behavior and how he's going to,
you need to say what you're actually feeling, because this necklace says a lot more than what you say you're feeling.
Yeah. I mean, but it's so interesting because to me, it's pretty obvious. Like, he seemed really clueless. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? Maybe just because we're women, but
I think it's just that they're pining for something more, but none of them are able to say it, you know. But like, I think in real life, we all know that like a 24 karat gold necklace would say, wow, this is, you know, a deeper relation. It wouldn't be something you do just for a roommate or whatever. And so
yeah, any gold necklace. I keep saying 24 karat as if now 18 karat is friendship, but
well,
24
is
it's just
right.
Jewelry is intimate. It's romantic. Yep. And Billy's acting like it's not, but then get her a book.
People will say, you know, if you get a ring, that means a lot more. It doesn't have to be an engagement ring, but a ring more than like, oh, you know, you often see it where the woman opens a box and she's expecting a ring piece of jewelry and it's earrings, which doesn't mean as much as the ring. You know, there's all these levels of meaning and jewelry.
Have you ever been at that point in a relationship, where I have been several times, where you're kind of getting it's deeper and deeper, and they give you jewelry, but they say, it's not the ring. Like, you have to say, like, I'll say you've been together 2 years.
I'm warning you before you
After
open
you've been
this.
together 2 years, if you give someone a jewelry box, you have to be clear, this is not the ring.
Yeah. An engagement.
I just wanted to get you a nice pair of earrings. Now go ahead and open it.
It is not. Yeah.
Like a little warning. Yeah, it's funny.
I think you know what I did like ultimately at that episode and between that couple, because, you know, as I said before, when we were doing the recap, Joe and Jake are like, you know, they just like hook up and well, we can talk about that next, that they are making out on the sofa. And then, you know, he starts to unbutton something and she's like, no, slow down. And he goes, whatever you want. And she says, just the making out. I was just going to bring up how this storyline is different at a different pace with two different people than the Billy and Allison, which is, there's such a history of the friendship kind of chemistry, and it's as cool and great a chemistry. And to me, that means sort of a long-term thing. It's just different than Jake and Joe. But okay, they're making out on the couch. And
so there's like the larger question. Is this, you know, it's like for us in our, you know, in our opinion, is this a good idea for her to like move into this new apartment and immediately start a thing with the you know, with the neighbor, whatever? Like, is that really a great idea? Or like Billy and Allison's choice is, you know, probably a little bit maybe better. Like, just we're trying to be friends, but now we're having trouble maintaining a friendship because we're actually finding that we have more interest in each other than, you know, just roommates, whatever. But Joe comes into this new apartment building and immediately, you know, is willing to start a thing. And Jake seemed to be like more than open to it right from the get-go. Like, is that a great idea to get involved with somebody in your apartment building?
I know.
Immediately? Probably not, right? Like, what happens if that goes awry? I mean,
what do you do with that feeling? I mean,
right.
What are you supposed to do with it? You live right near each other. It's almost like you got to go through with the feeling and the impulse, and it's going to happen. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's either sooner or later, but then you got to deal with the repercussions.
And I guess it's the same conversation for like, do you get involved with somebody that you work with? And Courtney,
yeah, you too.
Well, we did, and everything, you know, worked out okay. Like nothing, you know, nothing turned into a disaster, you know, whatever. But there's a reason why maybe you shouldn't. You know, doesn't mean you don't, but maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah, I think what was smart about the way they did Jake and Joe for the writers is that while we have this simmering, endlessly simmering thing with Billy and Allison, it's like, we'll give you this. This hot couple is going to be making out. So you like kind of satiate the audience. Yeah. So you have this great thing, and the dichotomy is so good. And not Billy and Allison not being able to share their feelings, and you guys just like going for it. I love that balance. I thought it made that episode really fun.
And to me, it really made sense because of who they are. Their conversations that they have, and they both have run. They run from the past. They run from people. They are not great at this stuff, but there is a chemistry that they connect and get intimate on, and they need that, and that's how they do it. And they really, as we see, because they stay a couple for quite a while, but it makes sense for those characters to me. I just don't see them, not doing it. And I feel like, same at work.
Hi, I'm Kristen Davis, and I want to know, are you a Charlotte? In 1997, my life was forever changed when I took on the role of Charlotte York on a new HBO show called Sex and the City. As we watched Carrie, Samantha, Miranda, and Charlotte navigate relationships in New York City, the show helped push once unacceptable conversation topics out of the shadows and altered the narrative around women and sex. We all saw ourselves in them as they searched for fulfillment in life, sex, and friendships. Now, I want to connect with you and share untold stories and all the behind the scenes. Together with special guests, what will begin with Sex and the City will evolve into talks about themes that are still so relevant today. Are You a Charlotte is much more than just rewatching our beloved show. It brings the past and the present together as we talk with heart, humor, and of course, some optimism. Listen to Are You a Charlotte on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Daphne, did you ever have a relationship with somebody you worked with?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I mean, I've been working since I'm 17, and they're long hours, and I worked a lot. So I don't know where else I'm supposed to work.
It's like not advisable, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And you kind of.
I think I'll ask you guys, because you both did this on this show that we're talking about. Your acting skills come in handy, because you are on the clock and you have certain lines to deliver and certain emotions to deliver. And they have they're the total opposite of what you experienced off hours or with this other person. And they're there on set, and wherever you are in that relationship, you got to act. You got to show up and be a pro, right? As best as you can.
Well, I feel so lucky in that Andrew was the person on that set that I connected with, because we helped each other through that first crazy year when things got crazy. We're so supportive because we're good friends too. And we always were good friends, even when we were together as a couple. And so grateful that when the romantic part left our relationship, that we could still be together because our characters were still together. And it's just lucky, right? Because unless both people are being professional and kind, it can be awful. And it wasn't. And I'm so grateful that it wasn't, because he or I could have made it awful. And I'm just grateful neither of us did. It was sweet. It's still sweet. I think of him with so much love and gratitude to this day. That was a really special time in my life.
Everything turned out just fine.
It did.
Yeah. No, I mean, Grant and I dated during the run of the show. And there was, a moment of inevitability when the storylines circle around, and it's going to be like, oh, now Sydney's going to be, in a storyline with Jake. And just sort of that inevitability of every character is going to loop around and somehow have a relationship with it. But there was this feeling like, wait, is that because we're together in real life? And then, there was this that sort of uncomfortability, those are repercussions, I think, professionally, that you have to, like you're saying, okay, now we got to deal with this sort of on camera relationship where we also have this completely different in real life
you're
thing.
Being paid for.
Right.
Hard though.
But also, I think that the repercussions, I think, are even greater. Just to think, are we going to make sure that we can end this well and not badly? Or living in an apartment building, ooh, if I start something with somebody in my apartment building and it eventually comes to an end, how do I make that be okay?
I mean, we all try our best. Listen, in the world of love, nothing is totally neat and perfect, and we do our best, and things have their ending. And frankly, I think in this culture, this fantasy of romance always focuses on the beginning, the hotness, the feelings, and then the passion, and then the middle. And no one ever focuses on the end. The end is an important part of it too. And to do it skillfully is really hard because I don't think we have a lot of role models. We all have broken heart and people are left and stuff. And so, I remember once I had a breakup. It wasn't with someone I was working with, but, we went to my therapist. We had the most beautiful situation. And to this day, it's like we honored the ending of it. And I don't think a lot of people do it. And I think that's really hard if you're working 12 hours a day with someone. But, we do our best.
Yeah.
And you guys are lucky.
Think about when Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin broke up and they said conscious and coupley, and they got so much crap for it. But here's the truth, right? If you can uncouple, like the romantic part of our relationship isn't here, but if there's enough good to maintain a friendship, that's amazing, because it wasn't, in theory, like for most relationships, it's not just sex that bonds you, right? Hopefully there's a real emotional connection. It's amazing if you can keep that, especially obviously if you're working together, then that's
And even if you're not going to be friends, just like a story, like a movie, like an episode, there's an ending. There is an ending that has as much importance as the middle and the beginning, and at least honor that. And maybe you'll never see each other or talk together, but especially if you're working together, I would think that would be so important. But you guys.
Okay, so speaking of relationship consequences,
yes,
also the fact that Michael brought Kimberly to his apartment complex while his wife is out of town for the Christmas party. Like, what do you think that would actually look like in real life? I'll answer first. Totally bad move. Like, not cool.
Yeah, not cool.
Well, I think it makes it look innocent though, because I'm bringing my friend. So why would I ever bring her here?
But, like, I'm sorry if
Except he stepped in and said, "We made a baby today together."
Yeah, that was gross.
I mean,
that was Melrose.
Yeah. But if my husband brought a coworker to like a family party when I was out of town, that would feel very weird. Especially, they've already had this conversation of like, should I be jealous? He's already said, I really connected with this colleague of mine, and she's beautiful and whatever. And Jane has to say, should I be jealous? And he's like, maybe, but don't lay that groundwork. And then also bring her while I'm out of town to the Christmas party. Not cool.
I mean, this is one thing they say. I thought this was interesting. They did not say in this episode, but if the wife knows, then okay. If he had called Jane and said, this person, Kimberly, let's pretend we know nothing about the future. And she was lonely, and they did go through a lot that day, a death of a child and the birth. And it's like, it's a normal thing. I'm having a potluck. You want to come? If you call your wife, if the wife knows, then it's not a secret. If the wife doesn't know, then it's a secret, which means no, it's not a good idea.
That's a good point. And also, it is a little bit hard to divorce myself from like knowing what I know of those two characters to go, well, if I was in but I guess in real life, you don't have that crystal ball either to know what's coming. So it was like a very Christmassy, like goodwill sort of extension to a friend. Of course, to say you have nowhere to go. Of course you should come celebrate Christmas here, whatever. But the clarity, I think it just gets cloudy, like knowing what we know or whatever. I'm like, absolutely uncool.
But it's so fun watching it now because we do know, and the audience does know what a disaster that woman and that guy turns into. And they're just sitting there so innocently in her sweater, oversized sweater. Oh, hi. And this happy family vibe, with all these people, and Matt has made the meal and the turkey's out, and you're just going, it's just hilarious watching it now.
I love that we get like this extra opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into some of these things that happened in the episodes.
Very good.
We're going to be doing these every week with our recaps. We're going to add these Melrose minutes. So, because we need extra time to talk about stuff like this.
We never have enough time to chat.
So thank you all for listening, and make sure to catch up on all of the Melrose Place recaps wherever you get your podcasts.
And follow
Still the Place on Instagram and TikTok.
Yay.
Good to see you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. See you next time.
Welcome to Decisions, the podcast where boundaries are pushed and conversations get candid. Join your favorite hosts, me, Weezy WTF,
and me, Mandy B,
as we dive deep into the world of non-traditional relationships and explore the often taboo topics surrounding dating, sex, and love.
That's right. Every Monday and Wednesday, we both invite you to unlearn the outdated narratives dictated by traditional patriarchal norms. With a blend of humor, vulnerability, and authenticity, we share our personal journeys navigating our 30s, tackling the complexities of modern relationships, and engage in thought-provoking discussions that challenge societal expectations.
From groundbreaking interviews with diverse guests to relatable stories that'll resonate with your experiences, Decisions is going to be your go-to source for the open dialogue about what it truly means to love and connect in today's world.
Get ready to reshape your understanding of relationships and embrace the freedom of authentic connections. Tune in and join in the conversation.
Listen to Decisions on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.